This week, on the sidetrack, we'll be leaving the 70s and 80s behind, not that there's anything wrong with that, and plant our feet firmly in the 90s. Joining our guests, actress Gelula and writer-director Kerem Sanga to discuss the 1997 movie by Leigh called Career Girls. That's this week on the sidetrack. Thanks once again for joining us here at the sidetrack. We are now approaching our first month in our first season with so much more ahead of us. If you've been enjoying the last few weeks, you're in for quite a treat as we approach the end of the year. Lots of amazing filmmakers, producers, screenwriters, and actors who are gearing up to sit in their own homes, record their audio commentaries, and bring them to you in yours. So thanks for the continued support. And as always, if you are a fan of the show, please spread the word, because we ain't eating food or paying bills just yet. This week, we'll be sitting down with actress Gelula, whose long list of television and film credits are way too long for me to list here, but we will talk to her about it, as well as writer-director Kerem Sanga, who's best known for his film at Sundance, First Girl I Loved, as well as his upcoming film, The Violent Heart. How these two make sense together and why they're here commentating as a duo is a story that we'll cover on this week's episode. So why don't we just kick it off and get to it with Gelula, Kerem Sanga, and Leigh's Career Girls here on the sidetrack. So I'd like to welcome Gelula and Kerem Sanga here on the sidetrack. Guys, how are you doing?
We're good. How are you?
Well, thanks for asking. I'm good. That's Dylan. And Kerem, how are you hanging in there these days?
Better than you'd expect.
Every day is miserable.
He's miserable? Is that what you said?
I am.
You're miserable.
He's happy-go-lucky together.
Now, are you guys in an apartment? Are you where are you holed up right now? Where are you staying during this whole process?
Apartment. That's where they put all of us.
It's true.
Well, so let me quickly give folks the brief background, if you trust Wikipedia and IMDb, of all the things that you guys have done. Dylan is an actress. Dylan has been, in Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, casual films like Flower, Support the Girls. You were in Horse Girl on Netflix, yes? I'm right on that?
That's all true.
All true. Kerem is a writer and a director who is known for his audience award-winning film at Sundance, First Girl I Loved. True?
Also true.
Also true. I'm doing pretty good. Currently just finished is in post on the drama The Violent Heart. True?
Mm-hmm.
True.
Mm-hmm.
Who's starring in The Violent Heart?
It is Jovan Adepo, Grace Van Patten, Lucas Haas, Mary J. Blige.
That's a good cast. So clearly, we have two sides of the spectrum. We have Dylan, who's acting like crazy. We have Kerem, who's writing and directing. And the question to the audience has in their head is, why? How have we put these two people together? What is the connection? And so we have not talked about this, but I believe I know the story of what happened and how the two of you came together. And I'm going to just float that, and you let me know if I'm right or not.
Okay, float it.
So here's the one thing that we know. We know that Kerem's movie First Girl I Loved also stars Dylan. And we know that was Dylan's film debut, the Sundance film. But what I believe happened, because the question is, where does this relationship, there's clearly a relationship here. You guys are just in an apartment. Mm-hmm. Now, Kerem, you did a worldwide search for the role of Anne Smith. And you were auditioning hundreds upon hundreds of young actresses. And Dylan walked in. She killed the interview. This is my perception. You went out for coffee after, you connected, and then went into the shooting of that film having this male-female writer-director relationship, which, of course, delivered the film that then won the audience award. Is that correct, or am I totally off?
Well, some of the events are in a different order. So actually, I first sat down with her and had coffee, and then she came in to read. So with a lot of times you kind of sit down with the actor or actress and you kind of say, hey, can you come in and read, that kind of thing. And she did, and then we made the movie, and then it was several months later that we actually started dating. So it's not quite as probably cool and hip of a story of like the on the film set kind of a thing, but you know just as well as anyone else, a film set is pretty hectic and stressful, and especially for a director.
How do you find Dylan? I mean, had you seen her in some of the television shows? Like, where do you find her, and how do you know that she's the right person for that role?
There was a triangulation, in fact. So when I was making the Young Kieslowski, she sent in a tape for a kind of a tertiary role, we'll say, and I saw it, and it was maybe like 3 lines, and the only reason we didn't cast her was because she was in New York and we were filming in LA, and we thought we had a good option in LA. So then when it came down to cast First Girl I Loved, you make all kinds of lists, you watch a lot of tape, and we both remembered her, and I had just watched the first season of Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, and I thought she was really in control, that she was in control of what she was doing. And so I thought, well, obviously that's a comedy, but we should ask her to come in and maybe she'll be good for this movie. And then independently of that, her manager reached out to us. Hey, I heard you're casting for this role. You should meet my client, Dylan Gelula. So a lot of signs were pointing to we should meet Dylan Gelula. And as far as what we were looking for at the time, that was a little movie.
Yeah. That was for both of you your first Sundance experience?
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah. So Dylan, what is that experience like for you going into Sundance as your film debut? So your first time out of the gate, you're starring in it. It wins an audience award at Sundance. Like what is the experience there, and then what happens on the heels of that? Do you experience a significant that typical like overnight success kind of feel, despite the fact that you've been grinding it out for a certain amount of time?
No, I mean, as far as the experience of Sundance, I mean, I totally took it for granted. I was totally like, oh, okay, yeah, this is what happens. This is how it goes. Everything is going to feel as creatively exciting as this forever. So I, did not appreciate it. And then, it didn't feel like an overnight success. It felt like I had the opportunity to have a lot of generals.
Right. Free water.
And then still audition for things and not get 99% of them. And that's still what it's like today. You know what I mean? It's just that like you just do that. I've just had so many more years of doing that, so I have that many more roles now.
How do you want people? What's the blue sky scenario for you as an actress? How do you want people to see you? What roles do you want? Because people get pigeonholed to a certain extent sometimes. What's your hope with respect to how the kind of roles that people bring to you versus, I mean, everything that you're in, as far as I'm concerned, you always bring an element of really fun energy too. So, whether it's a small part or a big part, it's, you're always very much a standout as far as I'm concerned. But what are you not getting? What are the things that you want to do that you have yet to try?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I would just hope that my dream is for people to think of me as someone who tries really hard and to trust me to try really hard.
Yeah.
And that's all I'm after.
Right.
Not to jump the gun here, but part of the reason she chose the movie that we watched and are going to give commentary to. And it's a movie where the best part about it is that the acting is magnificent.
Well, I mean, like that's the thing with Mike Leigh specifically, is that he is primarily interested in actors who want to try really hard. And the truth is that there aren't that many of them. And the ones that are really special. And I just hope to be one of those people when I'm a 45-year-old British person.
What? So I have this phrase that I like to use when I talk to people about the stuff that they've done. What I want to know what for both of you is your worst best project, which means you go into something, you've signed up for something, and you're like, weeks out from doing it, and you're like, this is not gonna go the way I hoped it was gonna go. You're reticent. You still have to do it, and then once you do, it ends up becoming one of the best experiences you've had.
I know mine. Do you want to go first?
No, you go ahead.
I just did a production of Macbeth off Broadway.
Wow.
Yeah, and I have no training at all. Everything I've done has just been by instinct and by failing and then learning from that. And I knew that my castmates had like gone to Juilliard and had done a lot of Shakespeare, and I just was really scared, and I just was really like preparing to fail, and it was the best experience ever to be the worst at something.
And is this 6 nights a week? How often?
Yeah, it was crazy. It was 8 shows a week.
Oh my gosh.
And it was just like an extremely physical production, and it was just truly the opposite of film acting, and just that it asked a lot more of my body and my mind, and it was just really out of my comfort zone. I just really sucked at it a lot in a way that was great. But
I've always marveled at folks who are doing that kind of a show. Well, I mean, fortunately, where if you feel like you didn't deliver one night, the next night, you almost like a screenwriter. Each time you write something new or perform something new, you're working on the things that you felt like you couldn't deliver on the last time, and you have 8 chances a week to do that. But how do you even live a life that has to be your whole life, and then you sleep on Monday, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was really crazy. I ate like 3 dinners a day. Like, it was just so weird. Like, your whole body is just ruined.
And would you do it again?
And then you do it again, yeah. But like, you're right, yeah. Like, I just always got a new chance to get it right. Whereas with movies, like a year later, I'll be thinking about it and be like, oh, duh, that's how to say that line. And it already came out.
Right. And Kerem, what about you? What's your worst best?
I guess in terms of the movies that I've written and directed, I have to say I've been lucky enough to always go into it feeling pretty confident and pretty good about what I was about to do. But so maybe my version of the story that Dylan just told is that one of the writing, I've done a few writing assignments, and one of them was for a really big established property at a studio.
Right.
That they were very well, it was a big thing. And I really wanted to, I thought that I wanted to write that kind of a movie. And then when I actually got it, I spent a couple months just wrapping my mind around what it meant to write a big action movie where the last 30, 40 minutes of it is expected to be one long finale with payoff after payoff. And there was a long time there where I felt like I had made a mistake, and that was there some way to give it back? And just because I felt a little fraudulent doing it, but
right.
And then and it was almost like I went to a film school again. So I just watched all those kinds of movies and wrote a couple of drafts that I never turned in, but just for myself.
Yep.
And then just something clicked, and I think that what I learned on that experience was, I now bring to my own more personal movies of just a kind of narrative rigor.
Yep.
That it turns out that I actually really enjoy.
So, Dylan, you grew up in Philly, right?
That's true.
So I was saying this to you before we started recording. Earlier this season, we had Matt Spicer, who's also from Pennsylvania. I think he grew up in Philly. Do you guys have like this 6 degrees of, I don't know who we would use, but he co-wrote Flower. You were co-star in Flower. I think you both grew up in Philly, and you both were extras in an M. Night Shyamalan movie, you and Lady in the Water. He in Unbreakable, although he's only present in the deleted scenes on the DVD he told us about. Is that literally growing up in Philly? Is that the only movies that are really happening or being shot in that part of town?
Well, like occasionally there would be another thing where somebody was pretending like it was New York.
Right.
But it was but not often, rarely enough that it was extremely exciting when a movie was shooting there. But like M. Night Shyamalan is a unique entity in Philadelphia for sure.
Yeah.
Like if you're interested in film, that's your option.
I mean, when the rest of the country was poo-pooing The Village and, Lady in the Water, is he still a shining light a shining beacon of hope creatively for all film, people that want to get into film and acting in that part of the state and that part of the country?
Yeah, I mean, at the time, I remember Lady in the Water, he had like his own studios.
Right.
That were like, like a tiny, like a mini version of the one that like Tyler Perry has, where it was like just for his movies.
Is it Blinding Edge? Is that what it is?
What?
Blinding Edge? Is that the name?
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, to be fair, I was 10. I was just, went somewhere and it was exciting.
That was a flex, Paul.
That's right. All right. So let's talk about Career Girls. Now, Dylan, you had seen this before. Kerem had not. Talk to me, Dylan, about where you first saw this movie, how it impacted you, why you chose to sit down and both drag Kerem with you to do the commentary, and what about this film has inspired you?
Kerem had seen it. We watched it together, but I just picked it and didn't consult him.
Okay.
In all of our, many conversations about acting and how I think acting should be and how I'm railing against how this person's not doing it right, which is my favorite thing to talk about. He was saying, you'd really love the movies that Mike Leigh makes. And I was always like, yeah, I know, but whatever. And then one day we were just on Criterion and just watched Career Girls. And I was so just blown away by the difference that Mike Leigh's process with his actors makes, that then we after that had like a little Mike Leigh festival and watched like 7 or 8 of them.
Yeah, and I just want to interject here that the part that we've skipped over is how insistent I was that she watch Mike Leigh films and how disinterested, at least initially, she was in that. And then eventually it was like, we are doing this right now. And I just put on one of the only Mike Leigh films that I had not seen, which was Career Girls.
And so, what is Mike Leigh's, Dylan, from your perspective, what is he doing, excuse me, what is he doing with actors that's different that you can see on screen?
I mean, it goes without saying, he's also working with, in my opinion, the best actors.
Yeah.
So he's starting with such an A team, and then they take like 9 months to rehearse, to build backstories, to improvise, to work with the other actors. And like, it just shows in how much you believe the situations that are happening and the way that people are talking, and you just believe that they're real people. Are there any
filmmakers that you've worked with, filmmakers or creative folks, even on the television side, that you feel come even close, experience that you've had to what you imagine that's like with him?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, Kerem, obviously. I mean, I honestly do think that like my performance in Kerem's movie is my favorite thing I've ever done.
Cool.
For that reason. But I mean, also like Andrew Bujalski, I just talked to him the other day about how Mike Leigh is like a hero of his as well. A lot of people, I think, I'm not saying that people don't want to do that. It's just that the realities of filmmaking that's just impossible. To pay actors for 9 months just to rehearse is crazy.
Yeah.
In fact, I feel like, that's nice to hear, Dylan. And I also feel the same way about Andrew. I feel like he's somebody who, in America, it just seems like Dylan said, it's so difficult to imagine having the option to work with actors for 6 months and then film the movie.
It's also just not the culture.
It's not the culture, and it's not the it's just. I mean, can you imagine?
Did you, Kerem? Did you have that opportunity on The Violent Heart?
No, I mean the opportunity, the things that not even on First Girl I Loved. I mean, what I try to do is I just try to get all of the actors' cell phone numbers and just work as much as possible as we can before the film starts shooting. But
if each of you knew all the time, effort, work, sweat, tears that you've put in for both of your careers to get yourselves to where you are today, and you were going to start from scratch again, would you do anything differently than what you guys have done thus far?
Maybe little things here and there, but I mean, the other thing is that I'm not really writing films the way that Mike Leigh is writing films.
Right.
And I'm writing them essentially finished, and then going out and finding actors and then rehearsing the scenes that I've already written and then maybe tweaking those scenes. And as far as I understand the Mike Leigh process is that it's a lot more collaborative. There's a lot more improvisation that happens during the rehearsal process, and they find the scenes within the meta framework that he brings to the movie, and then that gets codified into a script, and then they go shoot the script. So
right.
I don't know that I would. It's not to say that I wish I did it that way. It's more like when you watch a movie where someone does it that way, that you just can see how these people are at. It really feels like they're not bound by the constraints of a screenplay. You're just watching a different sort of experience, and it's so authentic.
I mean, it almost has more in common with like performance art. I mean, he still makes these like narrative films that make sense, but I just mean like it's just so primarily focused on acting in a way that I haven't seen a lot of other movies be, just because like, other directors feel like that about cinematography or whatever.
Right. Well, I think we're going to find that there's a lot of people that probably haven't seen this film, so it's a great opportunity for them to both see the film, watch it from your perspective as well, and get to listen to the two of you talk about what you love about the film and what's so special about it. So I want to thank you guys for taking the time to sit down and record that and give us a little window into that experience, which I think will be great.
Yeah, it was really fun to watch it again.
Cool. So for all those folks that are following along with us, hang tight, queue up the movie. The movie is available on iTunes and other digital platforms, so you should be able to find it, and or if you have the Criterion edition sitting next to you on your couch, you can pop it in and listen to Dylan and Kerem walk you through their feature-length audio commentary. Dylan and Kerem, thanks so much for taking the time and joining us on the Sidetrack.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks.
Of course. All right, thanks, guys.
Hello and welcome to Career Girls.
Happy to be here.
Already, we're watching it on the Criterion Channel app.
Why'd you choose this movie, Dylan?
Why did I choose this movie? Oh God, it's starting. I chose this movie because it was the first Mike Leigh movie that I ever saw.
Is that true?
It is true.
Wow.
And it truly blew me away. And so this was the catalyst on my Mike Leigh journey.
Right.
And I really like it a lot. And I think it has some really great acting and some really interesting acting. Oh, here we go.
Love that. Love that smooth jazz.
Yeah, what do you think of the smooth jazz?
Well, I've seen this. It's strange that, well, just to speak to you about why it's strange that this is the first Mike Leigh movie that you've seen, because I had seen essentially all of them except for this one.
Yeah.
And
Topsy-Turvy.
And Topsy-Turvy, because that's hard to get a hold of.
It's very hard to get hold of.
If you don't have the Blu-ray.
If your friend Drew doesn't have a Blu-ray.
That's how I got a hold of Topsy-Turvy. But essentially everything else I'd seen except for the earlier TV stuff. So yeah, I always think that's very funny that you started with this one and not like the one, not like Secrets and Lies or something.
I know.
So this is his follow-up to the Palme d'Or winning, blockbuster.
Oh, yeah.
I think Secrets and Lies made millions and millions of dollars at the box office. It was truly a aberration
And then he makes this sort of comedy drama about these two women.
Yeah. That's a lot less subtle, I feel like.
Yeah.
They're very... I mean, she has... a very advanced dermatitis and she's really ticky.
I was just going to say already right off the bat, just that little flashback thing. That's kind of what's interesting to me about this movie is I've heard people say that the acting in it is over the top. And I think that's what I really am impressed by is when acting can be over the top in a realistic way.
This is kind of over the top, quote unquote, over the top acting. That reminds me of...
I remember the first time we saw this, we were like, are they on something? What is going on?
It seems like it. It seems like they're all on drugs.
Yeah.
Of some kind. But it's possible that they also aren't.
I know. That's what I like so much about it. Yeah, a critic I really respect in her review of this movie said that the flashback scenes are kind of cringy and overacted, and I just couldn't disagree with that more. It's just hard to be dropped right in to when we're already on their wavelength.
She's definitely on coke or something.
Right?
Yeah. So her name's Hannah, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And this is Annie.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do find the makeup a little bit distracting. Oh, it's The Cure.
The Cure?
That Cure song is playing.
Yeah.
The soundtrack to this movie is all The Cure.
Right. It's The Cure and then the original score.
And then that kind of
which is
smoothed out jazz.
Deeply anti The Cure.
Well, it's like The Cure grown up.
Yeah.
And more lounge acty. I remember watching this. This is only the second time I've seen it.
Mm-hmm.
But the first time I thought, okay, it's going to be about... I feel like you don't know what a Mike Leigh movie is going to be about until 40 or 50 minutes. Unless it's one of those... Unless it's like Topsy-Turvy, that's really, that has a very clear narrative. Oh, they're going to do a play.
Yeah.
Or put on, not a play, but... what is it? An opera?
Oh my god. Yeah. No, but that's really true. That's what hits so hard about the third act of his movies is the realization of this is what it's been about.
This is what it's been about. Exactly. Although I will say, even the first time I saw it, I thought, oh, here we are at the train station, and we're probably going to end here, too. That was my...
Oh, really?
Yeah. But
it's called being poisoned by the industry.
But only because you'd never seen a Mike Leigh movie despite being so into acting.
I know, but you'd always said, oh, this filmmaker you'd love, and I just never got around to it because I don't value your opinion.
Well, here, let's watch them interact. You're just really happy that she's smiling and that her skin is cleared up. That was a strong feeling for me when I saw it the first time.
She has such a 30-year-old haircut. You know what I mean? Like a 30-year-old woman who kind of like finally figured out a good haircut.
Here's a little game they play.
Oh my god.
Like a Ouija board type game.
I still haven't seen Naked, but apparently Catherine Cartledge gives like an unbelievable performance in that movie. I think she's so great in this movie.
I think Naked was the first one that I saw. The first Mike Leigh. Like maybe 10 or 12 years ago.
That's the one that everybody says is incredible. I told Kerem this, but I read an interview with her where she was talking about how the main thing she thought about this character was the muscularity of her voice and her ridiculous metabolism physically and mentally. And it's just so... I just love to read that and then see somebody execute what they were after.
Hannah? The Catherine?
Hannah, yeah. She's just, like, very metabolic.
What is that supposed to mean? What we're going to do with our index finger? And then she picked her nose? Is that what it did?
She's just free associating.
Yeah, and then she just said her face looked like she'd done the tango with a cheese grater.
Right. And that hurt her feelings.
Yeah.
I've tried in vain so many times to read about the exact process Mike Leigh has with his actors because I'd like to copy it, but I can't really figure it out.
Well, the best I can piece together is that there's just he comes in with a premise and ideas and for essentially who the characters will be and what they'll be doing, and then there's a long improvisation process, 3-6 months.
From what I understand, he has the actor come up with like 20 characters and he picks 3 and then they play with those and then one sort of starts to crystallize.
I'm sure there's a lot of apocryphy floating around about the so-called Mike Leigh process.
Well, when you watch it, you're like, whatever it is the right one.
Yeah, because it doesn't seem like they're constrained by the demands of a film.
That's so true.
They don't fit. They don't behave. It's, you just have to follow them around.
But as far as like,
But then you sacrifice. But you don't necessarily sacrifice. Like, I keep going back to Topsy Turvy. It's a pretty, it's a historical fiction. It's based on a real thing, and it's a pretty typically structured narrative. But not this movie.
No. But I mean, if you think of characters as like cups of tea or whatever, like, I've just never seen a character get so steeped into an actor as they do in Mike Leigh movies, where just like you can see the character in their eyes
from the beginning too.
From the beginning, yeah, like just deep, like it goes all the way to the bottom.
It's like watching a movie, an improv movie, except
good.
Well, I wouldn't say that. I would say that except that the character is not the persona of the person who's acting it, but is just somebody else.
Yeah.
So there's that extra layer that they've brought to it. But also, it is scripted.
Yeah, so from what I understand, they improvise, and then there's a continuity person that writes it all down, and then they have it verbatim.
And then he works it into a script, and there's not a lot of improvisation.
But that's all on the same day, apparently.
It is?
Yeah.
Well, look, I think if you really wanted to know, you should tune into a Mike Leigh giving a commentary on his own film. I mean,
what do you
we
think
should
of...
preface all of this by saying, despite having made a few films myself, I really don't feel qualified to be doing this.
No. What do you think of the...
and I'm doing it slightly under protest. That's all.
What do you think of the change of the look in the flashbacks?
Meaning?
I mean, it just has such a different look.
Oh, look at that. Unbearable Lightness of Being. Why'd they choose that one? Just because was a college movie?
I think...
then? Because it was a cool college
it's
movie?
It's just a book that they would both have. I think we both each have like 3 copies of that book.
I'm talking about the movie poster hanging.
I tried to ask you a question about the cinematography.
And what was that?
What do you think of it? What do you think of the look, the changing of the look?
The different... I haven't noticed it.
The colors totally changed when they flash back.
Right. Everything's so bright and clean here.
Yeah.
I would
like
chalk that more up to the... Well, yeah, you have that docu-cam in college.
Well, this is like yellows and olives and...
Yellows and olives, and the camera's settled down, and they've settled down.
Yeah.
They're not... They've lost all their ticks.
I love this movie.
Women talking.
I
love women.
I love when women are talking in a movie.
Just talking.
And like finally something I can understand.
Yeah.
It's really funny. Kerem watched Ford versus Ferrari today, and this is my Ford versus Ferrari.
Well, I can get behind a lot of movies.
It reminds me of like when we were watching All About My Mother, and there's just that scene of like there's like 3 women talking, and I was just like, oh, okay, this is drama I can understand.
Were they just talking about her skin condition again?
I think so. I just think she's so good. I mean, Linda Steadman is as well, obviously. Like, I mean, they're both just...
So this is Linda Steadman. This is Katrin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's actually in Topsy Turvy for 2 seconds in a cameo role. When Solbert goes to France.
Is she in Breaking the Waves too?
Yes.
Yeah. She's the friend. When you have these, you know, like we were talking about these, that it feels like a scripted improv movie, except they've transformed their actor personas as well going into it, and you get a scene like that where they're just talking about stuff at work.
Yeah.
It becomes about the way that they care and react to each other's problems instead of the content, the literal content of the scene.
Yeah.
And so if you're not watching for that, you will find this movie totally directionless and boring, right? But if you are attuned on that level, right, if you're looking for a different movie when you watch this movie, if you're hoping for women, Ford versus Ferrari, then, you know, you're not gonna like it. But if you,
Like,
yeah, just like that.
I just pointed at the way that her face. Oh my god.
Right. So this is handheld. Do you think it's all handheld in the past and then all sticks in the present?
I think so, right?
It seems like it's shaping up that way.
Yeah. Was this Dick Pope also?
I think they're all Dick Pope after a certain.
Dick Pope
film.
is Mike Leigh's cinematographer.
Yes. He's a stable of people who keep coming back.
I mean, I would do.
So this is like a little life on a tripod. That's what I'd call it. You know, just a little.
Oh, you think this is on a tripod?
No, it's not on a tripod, but it's kind of the handheld equivalent of a tripod, where you just kind of you tilt the camera, like you might put the camera on a sandbag or something, and just kind of move it around a little bit. Now this is all nice, bright, flat, clean.
Just cutting up a cucumber.
Cutting up a cucumber. Everything's green. The wine is green. The walls are green.
I think this is really pretty.
Very pretty.
Yeah, I mean, for as many incredible opportunities as he gives his actors, I feel like his cinematographer gets to do really different shit in every movie too. Like, they look different from movie to movie, I think.
Do they?
I think so. This looks nothing like Vera Drake.
But it does look like
It
Life
like,
is Sweet.
I don't think, I was going to say it doesn't. I don't think it looks like Life is Sweet.
You don't?
No. I feel like Life is Sweet was all like punchy and pink and like.
Well, well, you're talking about the design.
Am I talking about the design?
Yeah.
The power struggle is just rich.
Between these two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just palpable.
She works at a stationery place. And so here's that. I guess I don't listen to The Cure anymore. Is this meant to be playing on that stereo back there? Or
Yeah,
is
it looks
this...
like it's on. I'm so stressed out.
I mean, on the one level, it seems like they're sort of... that they're facing off. Like she's this, and Annie is telling her about all her problems, and then Hannah's saying, "I would have done better," in a way, but then,
but in
another way, she's being,
way.
Yeah, in a congenial way, exactly. I just can't get over the fact that that really doesn't look like wine.
It really doesn't, right? It's a weird
No,
color.
I think it's just juice.
That doesn't bother me though. I was reading today, like, you know, people are so mad about how actors hold coffee cups wrong. Have you ever seen that on the internet?
Because they don't have
water in
liquid
them, so people like throw them around and people make like supercuts of all that.
Right.
I think that people need to grow up and realize that it's fake and just enjoy the movie.
This from the same person who doesn't like miming things, even in a rehearsal.
Wait, what do you... I don't like miming. It's so true. I've unfortunately been exposed. I don't like the idea of doing object work. I think it's dehumanizing.
Look how easily they can speak to each other. You just get the sense that she doesn't have the phenomenon of being able to pick up with a friend where you left off in a, you know, intimate and free way.
Yeah.
Just the fact that this movie was able to capture that makes it special.
Yeah. She still has a little bit of tics.
Yeah, but they're all smoothed out.
They're smoothed out, but they're not gone, which is just the best.
I mean, it really seems like she's in her guest bed to me when I see this.
They also have the right amount of intimacy. Like they don't hang out all the time anymore, but they're comfortable being like, my mom's a fucking alcoholic.
Yeah. And the body language is telling you everything.
I really think that Catherine Cartledge would have been, Leslie Manville.
She would have been Manville level?
Yeah, I really do.
Yeah.
I love watching her so much. If you can't tell from the way that we're talking about, she died really tragically, very young.
Yeah.
Mike Leigh says about her that she was going to be a director, and then he feels like not only did we lose one of our best actors, but we lost like a really exciting new director. And I see it. Like, I just think that there's such an intelligence in her face.
So then the pattern that I found that I'm discovering again now, but that I was especially surprising to me, is that it's almost like that he's inverting the order of the scenes that you would expect. So this scene is kind of similar to them catching up in the previous scene. It's kind of the same idea. Do you know what I mean? Where they're talking about their family and their insecurities and so forth.
Right.
About crying, when the last time they cried. And then this, it's going to carry all the way till the end of the movie. I'm giving it away, but there's a important character who's about to come onto the scene.
Yeah.
Who figures into their past life heavily. And there's this big climactic scene with that guy that actually happens after you see him in the present day. So you are always kind of behind the memories that they have.
Yeah.
Do you think in the script... so here's the guy.
Incredible performance from this actor, by the way.
What's this character's name? Do we know?
I forgot his character's name. The actor's name is Mark Benton. Mark? Is his name Mark?
His name's Ricky.
Ricky.
Yeah. I thought it was Ricky. Right? There's like a mystery going the whole way. You're always there's never really a moment in the movie until the very, very end that you've caught up
Yeah.
to what they already know. But maybe that's because they weren't thinking about it. Annie wasn't thinking about it until...
Yes, we just saw her see him wander into class, and now they're moving in with him.
But that scene of her seeing him wandering into class
Yeah.
was intercut with her laying in bed.
I know.
In the present. And what I was quite wondering before is that do you write that? Is that something that you write?
Or do you think he found that in the edit? Is that what you're saying?
I just wonder when, at what point did he think, okay, now she's going to be remembering, because there's not a lot of scenes, for as much as you go back and forth, there's not a lot of scenes where someone remembers something and then you see that memory.
He is one of my favorite Mike Leigh characters in any movie I've seen of Mike Leigh's now.
He's just too weird to not be real.
Right? And you're like, I know that I went to school with this guy.
Was that on the waterfront?
Was it?
Yeah, I think that she just channeled that for a second. Could have been a contender. See, that's just how she is. She's a little confrontational.
Yeah.
But not mean about it, even though it seems mean.
It's like some kind of social confidence.
Well, I think it's part of her tick.
Yeah.
Who are they talking about? Thatcher?
I'm assuming they're talking about Thatcher.
I was talking about Thatcher.
They're always talking about Thatcher.
You get the sense that she's just wishes he would talk a little faster.
Oh my god, I really see that.
And she's going to push him because it's a kind thing to do because everyone else won't. And in a way, her confrontational nature is kinder than. And didn't she say that's her cardinal
Her
trait?
generosity.
Is her generosity. That is generous.
Yeah.
If you ask me.
Yeah, and she does all the taking in of all the characters in the movie.
She takes in and she says, and she challenges this guy.
She's the one who's hosting at her apartment.
Yeah. Speechless.
It's like
there's this real triangle of pointing out failures, but in a way that no one else is doing, because there really isn't anyone else to talk to.
But that's what you talk about when you're 20 and you're studying psychology in school. You know what I mean?
Is he studying psychology too? I guess.
Yeah, he came to her class. Yeah.
They're just such a great pair. So she came to her friend's aid and got... It's just so... It just doesn't care about story. It just is following them till the end. And that's where all the conflict is coming from.
But that's how you get these things where we're just behind them right now, and I can tell that he has a crush on her and that she never even thought about him that way.
That's such... Sometimes he just does these goofy things.
Because people are goofy.
No, but they're not that goofy.
Oh, you think sometimes he just gives into it?
I think he just gives into it. Just like Life is Sweet.
Life is Sweet is so goofy.
Timothy Spall in Life is Sweet.
I mean, shout out Timothy Spall, who I wish was in this movie.
Oh, did she tell a dream? Did she tell him a dream that she had? Yeah. There's more of The Cure. I read that Mike Leigh approached The Cure for their music, and they agreed so long as The Cure was the only pop music in the movie.
Wow.
If you're going to be in a Mike Leigh movie, you cannot be precious about your appearance. It just doesn't work otherwise.
I just don't think he would work with actors who are.
Not now, anyway. I think, again, just watching it out the second time around, the first time around, you subconsciously think that you're building up a future for this guy too, for Ricky.
Yeah.
And you see that in the future these two women have shed their more, uncomfortable or traits, right? They've shed the tics.
Yeah.
And they've grown into more mellower, mature versions of themselves. So you just start to build, or at least I did, you just start to build up this expectation for what this guy will be in the present day. And then, not to give it away, but that gets brutally dismantled.
Yeah.
Right, so now the music cuts out and they're... Wow. See, so she brings up sex.
Yeah.
But without realizing what
she's doing. I
don't
think that she's realizing it at all.
Because she's self-pitying.
Yeah, I also just don't think that she sees him as a sexual being.
Right.
God, it's just... What she's doing is so hard to do. I mean, same thing with him, obviously.
This thing he does with his index finger. Do you suppose she's cluing into it now, slowly? That's why she said it was a blank page. Yeah. Uh-oh. So painful. Does he ever open his eyes?
No, you just wanted to open his eyes so bad. It just reminded me for some reason when...
Oh, she's back, so she's back in the bed.
Yeah, she's thinking of this whole thing.
Is that how every one of these flashbacks is introduced?
No.
It's not. See, something like that. What do you write? Do you write cut back to she's still thinking about all this?
I don't think so. I think that would be an edit thing where you're like, we should check in with her and you use some more of that footage.
It's like a routine they have.
That happened so fast.
She tells it like it
The
is.
scene is so fun.
And now she's back in class.
It just feels so right that she has the skin thing. It's just like...
Well, because she's built her psychology and her tics and the way she looks down all the time. Everything's built around that.
It's also built over a very long time. Like, part of his budget is rehearsals for months.
That sounds really nice.
Doesn't it? I heard him say that, like, he makes low-budget movies and, like, a lot of the budget goes to being able... He pays actors for, like, 9 months.
Bet you like the sound of that.
I mean, I would do it for free. I mean, it's just the idea of having that length of time to really know what you're doing. I mean, and it shows.
Well, we've got that on tape now. She will do it for free.
I will.
See what Sag has to say about that. So this is teeing up the scene.
Yeah.
This is teeing up the scene that the really sad scene that happens at the end of the movie. After their real estate tours that are going to fill out the rest of this 87-minute little picture. She's still thinking about that.
Well, she's in Hannah's house. It's all coming back to her.
You think? So this is where they start going apartment hunting. And I really think an unasked question that at least I'm thinking and hoping is just wondering, are these two going to team up?
Yeah, you almost want them to move in together again.
Yeah. It's very teasing that way.
She still has the same little tics.
So we're going to cross purposes, actually. She's still very strong. Like her confrontationalness has turned into just not suffering fools.
I also was talking about, like, Linda Steadman, like, she still does some of the same stuff with her neck and her eyes.
The Annie character?
Yeah.
It's jazz. Wow, I thought there was someone standing behind her.
Some brilliant commentary from director Kerem Sanga.
It looks like there's someone standing behind her. It's her past. It's her self-reflecting past. That old gag. This way, then you see it, then walk the other way. I just think he can't help himself in terms of gags.
Maybe.
Right. Like, who is this guy?
Okay, let's discuss the Andy Serkis elephant in the room.
Soon, one day he will be King Kong.
One day he'll be King Kong.
Do you think he was on that track at this point? Do you think he was doing animal work?
I don't know his story. I don't know how he came to be that guy.
Who's the guy? Now I'm giving away my lack of knowledge of nerd things, but who's the, the really creepy guy in the Lord of the Rings?
Gollum?
That he plays? Gollum.
He plays Gollum?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you remember how, like, every Academy Awards in, like, the mid-2000s would, like, do a big tribute to Andy Serkis, like he died every year?
Why?
I don't know. I just remember that we'd always have to really pay homage to Andy Serkis.
Because he didn't, there was a sense that he didn't get his due.
Right. But I just think it's funny that we all had to, like, really take a minute for him at every award show.
I don't remember that.
It was a real moment in time.
I love that line.
It's a funny joke.
On a clear day, you can see the class struggle from here.
But yeah, okay, let's talk about...
See, he's just Mr. 80s excess in
Well,
the 90s.
It also...
Do you want a drink? Do you want a coffee? Do you want a beer? Do you want to smoke?
I remember that the first time I saw this, I turned to you and I said, like, this is what Mike Leigh thinks men are like. Like, I've just, like...
This is what this Mike Leigh movie thinks men are like.
I mean...
Right? I mean, you haven't seen Mr. Turner, but...
I haven't seen Mr. Turner.
Or,
But, I mean, in general...
Another Year, or anything with Jim...
with Jim Broadbent?
Yeah.
Yeah. But this is true in a way. Like, I've thought about a lot about this, and, like, I understand the argument people make where they're like, this is the weakest part of this movie. This is, like, a detraction from its overall goodness.
This guy.
Yeah, and I understand that, but, like, what you were saying is really true. Like, this is, this is true to my experience in a way. That you'd have to spend, like, a weird amount of time with this guy.
Okay, certainly. But... there's just something a little... he's like the Timothy Spall character in Life is Sweet. Just a bit inflated. Right, see? He just scrapes a little off the top of the Academy. You just feel the judgment, I guess, in a way that you don't feel that with any of the other characters.
Yeah.
I feel that this guy is disliked by the philosophy of the film.
Do you think that that's on Andy Serkis or Mike Leigh?
I think they're in cahoots.
I mean, he never showed up again.
Andy Serkis?
Yeah.
Well...
He was a one-and-done guy.
Well, Hollywood was calling.
Oh, you think that's what happened?
When
Peter Jackson called?
1997, this movie?
Yeah.
And then Lord of the Rings is 2001? He really wants to sell it to them.
I do think he is great, and
He does. I do have more of an appreciation of this now the second time around. It's just it's jarring.
It is really jarring, especially because you kind of want to get back to all the emotional shit between them.
And you kind of won't for a while.
Yeah.
You're going to have to.
But you do need to see.
You do need the outside world to come in a little
I
bit.
like the idea that something new happens with them in the present.
Well, it's the middle of the movie. Something new has got to happen in the
I
movie.
know, but like, I like that it's kind of just a new escapade.
Yeah, on an adventure they're going on, yeah.
That she'll come back to her apartment in 10 years and be remembering this.
So I would say this, by the way, is about where I've clued into the feeling of where this was going and what this movie is about. Just first you catch up to the fact that it's not going to be it's not goal oriented, right? There isn't. They're not preparing for the 24 hours of Le Mans, to continue the Ford versus Ferrari analogy. Why do you suppose he's so insistent? Right, so this is where I thought to get it when you have this outside character bringing in this idea that maybe they haven't voiced with each other, but I'm sort of hoping, like, yeah, why can't they? Why don't they buy it together?
I remember feeling like that at this point.
They're so great after all these years together.
They both look amazing.
They look great.
God, their outfits are so cool.
So, I do remember thinking, though, it was a great apartment, and he was ready to hand it off to them. And they probably could have gotten a good price, but they seem to be running away from it because of him.
Yeah, because he's insistent because she's hot. So he wants to, like, stay in contact with her and know where she lives.
And I understand why that would be alarming for some. But, this is a piece of real estate. This is like, can she just suffer this guy for about... Right? Or is it just a bad scene?
It's just a bad scene. You just, when you're a woman who lives by yourself, you can't take any risks.
You can't buy an apartment from a guy who's ready to hit you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. All right, I understand. At least they have each other to laugh about.
They have each other to laugh about it.
Yeah. Look, they're still laughing. Do you suppose they laughed all the way?
Yeah. I don't...
He doesn't do this, Michael. He doesn't do this sort of thing very often.
What?
You know how sometimes in films you'll see characters will have a conversation, and they'll cut in the middle of the conversation to another scene, but the conversation will be fluidly continue between two scenes.
He doesn't do that.
He doesn't, but it's a modernist strategy, would you say? I mean, it's not real, right? So now they're going to meet a different guy. Guess what? This guy's going to be a blast from the past.
Blast from the past alert.
For as plotless as this movie is, it has a lot of contrivances.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the plot is, would you believe that we would have so many blasts from our past?
I don't know. I mean, like, I always think about, like, my best friend from high school. Like, when we hang out now, it feels like this, and, like, she went to see an apartment with me one time, and it was very much like that, and then...
Wait, that happened to this? The
No,
plot of this film happened to you?
No, but I'm just saying, like,
but that
the
is
way
the
that
plot
she
of the
was...
movie.
The way...
You meet somebody from... You say hello to you meet a person that you knew in high
But I
school,
mean, like,
then you go apartment hunting.
If I went to her apartment in Philly, it's very possible we could run into a guy that we knew. You know what I mean?
Right, but they're about to run into this guy, they're about to run into Ricky.
I'm just saying, like, that's all possible.
It's a great first floor view.
Yeah.
But it is.
You think we're watching House Hunters?
Yeah. Is this what men are like?
That is what men are like. You can't talk to them at all. God, that rules.
This apartment?
Yeah.
We're still on House Hunters?
Well, I'm just thinking that they're talking about how shitty it is.
Well, look. This is late 90s.
Yeah.
There's a lot more choices back then. Now she recognizes Adrian.
Yeah, and he doesn't recognize them.
Classic misunderstanding. Wow, that's really close on her.
Yeah.
And now we're going to go back. There he is. Pre-glasses. It's a very mild beer he's drinking. Is this a Cure song?
It's gotta be.
They have love ballads too.
I mean, you could always count on Mike Leigh for a weird sex scene.
I know.
Just sex scenes that make you feel weird.
And they just stop. You don't see a lot of heat in the Leigh oeuvre.
There was one scene with Sally Hawkins in All or Nothing where I felt like she actually wanted to have sex with somebody.
Oh yes, that. Yeah, I remember that.
But she's also her in that movie is the most conventionally hot anybody's ever been in any of these movies.
Or just hot. Period.
Yeah.
The weirdest. Just the weirdest.
I'm so impressed with that, though. You know what I mean? It's so hard to do that.
There's a lot of alliteration in that line.
I mean...
That was uncalled for.
Just so many fun characters bouncing off each other. He could have been a sitcom writer.
Look at this. Just face.
Yeah, really, really close. What do you think about this?
Well, they all know. These two know. He doesn't. So there's a kind of discomfort there.
I mean, I guess it makes sense for Mike Leigh. I feel like he doesn't do a ton of coverage stuff like that. Normally, like, everybody's in the shot together because it's a play.
Give us a kiss, then. Reminds me of Secrets and Lies. Give us a snog. That's true. That's what I saw. What is there to say about what's going on right now? We're just along for the ride of them shopping.
But I could watch it for like 8 hours.
Because because of the essence of what it is. Improv movie where they've worked out the personas in advance and written it.
Yeah.
So it's just all about the performances.
I mean, that's why he's my favorite. Is that he's just primarily interested in the thing that I like the best.
Oh my God. Could bring my mates back.
This movie's really funny.
Oh, and then she puts that over her face. It's like she is on Adderall.
Yeah, it feels like
movie.
it feels like that.
First she was on Coke in the past, and now she's Adderall. Do you believe that he wouldn't recognize it? Oh, that's sad. He doesn't recognize her because he never really looked right at her face.
Yeah, because of the dermatitis.
Mm-hmm. And now she, sensing that, that's her hot button issue for her friend. Same thing that she chastised Ricky for even mentioning. This guy didn't even mention it. Just the memory of it. No, but there he is looking at her face. Did she have different color hair? So have they officially switched by this point?
Mm-hmm.
It seems like. Yeah. She's already thinking about marriage.
What does that mean?
It means that he doesn't want...
No, I know.
Okay, I know you know what it means. Just so cruel. That's the sister line of "You can see the class struggle from here." Wow. Nice to see you again.
Yeah, I mean, they told him that they went to college together, and he still didn't recognize them.
Uh-huh.
I love this shot. I think this movie looks great.
Me too. I love it. That's true. She's doing all the remembering.
Yeah. She does the remembering, and she does the being generous.
Oh, looks good. It's coming full circle now.
But this is how women talk. They're like, this is what I'm jealous of about you. And then they're like, that's the worst thing about me. And you do that back and forth.
But then are they also kind of barbing about it?
They're even wearing black and white.
I remember feeling very, like, almost kind of proud of her when that happened. When I saw that.
Because she can look people in the eye.
Their first meeting after so many years.
Yeah.
She told her character, Annie's character told Hannah what she was envious of, right? Of how she's like, see, I'm not like you.
Yeah.
Isn't it the same? And now
her independence.
Her independence. But then I've had independence thrust on me. It was the same scene.
That's how women talk.
Is it how women talk?
Yeah.
Or is it? I mean, okay, it's how women talk, but it's also,
it's also just
a mirror scene.
Good storytelling.
Yeah. The answer isn't always. That's just women.
That's just the way that women are.
Full of motifs.
Honestly, that's true though.
black and white.
I'm saying. That's such a great line.
Dangerous weakness.
When I look at men, all I see is dangerous weakness.
All the college posters coming down. This is the end. Have you noticed too that their tics have eased up, even in the college? Yeah. Now they're just sad and already nostalgic,
Yeah.
missing each other. You just want them to be good friends, continue to be good friends, and not be so hard on each other and themselves. It's really incredible that a movie can achieve such a thing. I hope they win the race. I read this Ebert review where at the end of the Ebert review, he likes the movie. And at the end of the review, he says that he had the same copy of the book in his house. And after
Of Wuthering Heights?
Of Wuthering Heights. And after he saw the movie, he went back home to his house and opened it up and asked, hold on, I'm going to look it up.
I'm really going to like whatever it is.
Okay, I read this is the Ebert review from, I guess, 97. I have the identical edition on my shelf, so I took it down. Miss Bronte, I chanted. What is the bottom line on the characters in this movie? I opened it to page 163, stabbed and read, "Oh, I'm burning. I wish I were out of doors. I wish I were a girl again, half savage and hardy and free, and laughing at injuries, not maddening under them."
My jaw's on the floor. Is that real?
That's real.
Because it really works.
It's really a Ouija board.
Wow.
I guess that's not what a Ouija board is.
No.
Why do I keep calling it a Ouija board?
Well, because it's like a toy that you can connect to the beyond with.
Right. Look at that gate back there.
What do you mean?
The way her ankles are flopping.
You're all about running.
Well, I just find it so distracting. Oh, so this is another coincidence.
Yeah.
This
That's
is
what
the
I'm
person
saying.
that they
like,
used to share the flat with.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is another instance of someone running much faster in the film than I believe that they could keep up for the length of time that we're meant to believe that they're running.
I think she could do that.
You think? She's running very fast. I mean, for her. See, they're about to do a third. Even this far into the movie, we're still just not totally in on whatever they have going on.
Mm-hmm.
We've never heard that before. We've never heard them impersonate their German
Pharmacist?
Pharmacist.
God, they both look so cool. I would wear both of those outfits. Peep the Cure poster.
Where?
Look, see, right under.
Oh, right. Yeah, it's right there. There he is. So right, so this is what I was talking about before, where they meet this guy now, in the present, before we see the scene that's going to come after that, in the past that was their, they're falling out. It's almost like they're talking about the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But he's got the same haircut. I don't buy it. I mean, I say that, but you're just enthralled by what he's doing.
I mean, I think it makes sense that he has the same hair. So a big thing with Mike Leigh's process is that the actors only know what they choose to share with each other, like real life. And I've read that he didn't discuss with the other actors what had happened to Ricky. So it was so painful for them to shoot the other stuff and then shoot this.
Whereas
he knows.
I imagine that the actor playing Ricky knows.
Ricky, yeah, he knows everything. Like
he's worked it out.
Mike Leigh has works with his actors on like, what did you get for Christmas when you were 15? Literally.
I believe it.
So like you have to do more and more work depending how old your character is.
Oh wow! Look at this ponytail thing back there. Did you see that?
No.
There's this. Part of what is so just heartbreaking about this scene is that you didn't expect to run into him, and you just expected him to have mellowed out in the same way that they did, but then you kind of admit to yourself that he did have this, some kind of issue. I don't even know how you would describe it. It wasn't just the awkwardness of early 20s. That's what his
Yeah, I see that now.
Do you think he even recognizes them?
I don't think so.
You can just tell how sad they are by not being able to do anything for him. Right, this is something that she can't power through.
Yeah.
She can't confront him. She can't meet him. It's just one tragedy after another. This dynamic of somebody, an unreachable person, it reminds me of Happy-Go-Lucky, which you haven't seen and I'm about to spoil.
Don't.
So for those who have, you might recognize that. You think about the driving instructor, where that whole movie is just about somebody who is happy-go-lucky, just is positive. And it's really the rest of the world that has to change. And she has to, let go. Just recognize that she can't reach everybody.
Yeah.
And that's just so painful when it's coming from somebody who you were friends with. So this is it seems like the last time that they'd seen him.
Yeah.
And it was under the same dynamic, where he accuses them of, especially Annie, of not caring.
I feel like the hands.
This shot, I have a really clear memory of.
I was going to say the handheld stuff really paid off here.
Just walking off into the ocean. Now, like, she's been crying. Right? Well, here we are, back at the train station.
Really felt like I spent this weekend with them,
Yeah.
and it's wrapping up.
That is what it feels like. You spent a weekend with these two, with these two and her memories of the two of them. I mean, just look at the way they're holding that bag together. Ms. Mills?
Yeah, it's her last name.
I just really hope they won't.
I love this movie so much.
The music really shifts your emotions.
It's true.
It says, okay, look, she's leaving, but it's going to be all right. They'll probably talk on the phone in a week, or maybe earlier.
I just really believe every moment of this movie.
Any closing thoughts?
That's my closing thought. I love this movie. I love the acting in Mike Leigh movies. It's meant a lot to me to see them. This was my first one, and I'm very sentimental about it. I really love this movie. Do you have any closing thoughts?
I like them all. I like every Mike Leigh movie
Me
that
too.
I've seen. And this one is it has a lightness to it, but a depth of emotion and history, and it seems simple, but it's really sophisticated in the way that it's told and acted. I love it.
Well, thanks for watching with us. Bye.
And with that, we reach yet another end of another episode of The Sidetrack. If you're making it this far, not only are you a filmophile, which is a new phrase that I've invented just this moment, but you are dedicated. There's a patch or an award coming your way. We're going to figure this out for the hardcore Sidetrack listeners who make it through a 2-hour episode on a weekly basis. If you'd like to see some of Dylan's work, you can catch the Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt on Netflix, as well as Horse Girl on Netflix as well, and her films Flower, Support the Girls, Under the Eiffel Tower, all available on digital platforms and streaming services. As for the movie that brought them together, First Girl I Loved, it's available on Hulu and all digital platforms for your rent or purchase pleasure. I'd like to thank them again for joining us this week. Thank you again for returning, and please spread the word about The Sidetrack. And this is Paul Davidson saying thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.